Animation used to live in layers: modeling, rigging, lighting, rendering, each step separated by time, weeks, sometimes months. Today, performance, lighting, cinematics, and rendering can happen live inside real-time engines where iteration is immediate and decisions are visible in the moment. But technology alone doesn't make great storytelling. It takes leadership, it takes systems, and it takes mentorship. The kind that bridges classroom theory with studio reality. Today, we're speaking with someone who has built pipelines at the highest levels of AAA productions and who is now helping guide the next generation of animators right here at Magic. Welcome to Behind the Magic, the official podcast of the Miami Animation and Game International Complex at Miami-Dade College. I'm your host, Mauricio Ferraza, and today we're joined by Bill Buckley, Senior Vice President of Animation Production at Big Shot Pictures. Bill brings more than 20 years of experience leading animation teams across AAA games, VR, and real-time production. His credits includes Call of Duty, John Wick, VR Experience, Firewall, and the Guitar Heroes franchise. Bill is also an industry mentor at Magic, currently advising students on their capstone projects, helping them refine performance, pipeline efficiency, and storytelling clarity with a real-world production framework. Bill, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
Bill, you're actively working with our students right now on their capstone project. When you step into an academic environment after leading AAA productions, what stands out to you?
You know, what I try to bring to this experience for the students is that I want to get it as real world as possible. So I assume the role of an executive producer that is representing the publisher of what they're doing. And when I say to the students, what you guys are doing is essentially you've sold your game to a publisher. Congratulations. I am what is the representation of that publisher. So I'm going to be looking for milestones. I'm going to be making sure that we have a clear projection of when we're going to be able to get the game completed, staying on time, staying on task, all while cataloging their bugs and what fixes that need to be coming into it. There's a lot of pressure that comes to it. Game development is difficult. And having someone that is able to guide them and make sure that there is always that goal in mind is an absolute pleasure to be able to bring to the teams. So what I really see is there's this, great energy of young students that are wanting to dive into it. And there's a little bit of kind of a shell shock because at one time, creating art, creating animations, creating video games, it was a fun experience, and it kind of stops being fun when you start realizing, hey, there's deadlines that we have to do, and we have to stay on task.
So you've done a couple of projects already with us, right?
That's correct.
3, and what can you say about where can it be improved? A trend from students something they underestimate, or they're students, they're learning.
Sure.
But what's your take on that?
So I see a very common thing with students in which I'm actually glad to see, because I think it's a learning experience that they have to go through in order to become successful in doing this job. And really, there's a bit of an underestimation of how to prepare for showcasing what the work that they've done. And we have milestones. And what happens is that every time that I meet with them, I want to have a build in hand. And, I always say to them, if we're meeting on a Friday morning, you're not going to try making that build Thursday night, because Murphy's Law, something's going to go wrong. So you want to make sure that you give yourself a couple of days to get ready for that. And then you catalog along the way.
And they're never ready.
They're never ready. No, of course not. Of course not. But that's part of life. You learn about that. And, it's having those situations in which, there is a safe environment because we're here in school, and they learn this before going out there into the quote unquote real world and seeing it. But there are pressures with that. And I think it's one of those lessons that you really have to experience before you can, to learn it. It's not something I can kind of teach you. You really have to go through that. So really, I think it's a great opportunity for the students to see what that's like, see what production is really like, and experience those kind of difficult moments and learning when to get ready and learning to build management and pocket builds and, not waiting for the last minute.
Does it get better along the way?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
That's
Yeah,
what I want to hear.
absolutely. Yeah. No, it definitely gets better. You have to go through that learning experience. And it's just real world. And I think what happens is that it starts to click. It starts to click where it's like, oh, okay, if we're going to have it ready at this time, we better back those days up and make sure that, we're ready now. And here's the lesson that is always difficult. If you schedule and say, we're going to start making the build 2 days before we're supposed to deliver it, we're going to have a cutoff time of, say, 3 o'clock. And everybody that's working on that, you have to have your stuff in. Make sure that you push all of your submits at 3 o'clock. There's always going to be a person that calls at 2:45, 2:55. Can I just get 10 more minutes? Can I get another hour? I really want to get this in, but I just need a little bit more time. The answer is no. The answer is no. Guess what? We're going to have another one in a couple of days. So save it, put it in then. But there's not as much time as everybody thinks. And it's working with that. It's working with your developers, working with your artists, working with your engineers and designers to, you kind of have to have a good cadence with that. You have to be a little strict. And what that does is that creates an environment where people, they understand and they know, well, okay, I have to have this in at this time. If I miss that, then we're going to do it the next time.
There you go. Well, for our listeners, Bill has been a friend of the program for a while now. You've done hackathons with us. You've been to Miami several times, but I think we never actually talked about how did you get started? How did you get started in animation? How did it happen? Did you want to be an animator? Did you want to be a game developer?
Yeah.
Just origin story.
Yeah, all the way back to the beginning. Well, when I was in school, dinosaurs were running around, so I had to dodge those, make it to the campus. That was a hardship. But so when I started, I didn't know I wanted to do animation. I went to school. I was a pre-med. Believe it or not,
What?
I was a pre-med.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it turns out wasn't good at pre-med, so that didn't go anywhere. I wasn't going to be on the pit or anything like that. So, that didn't work out, but I was kind of, lost a little bit. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was the type growing up, I thought a job meant, I wore a suit and tie every single day because that's what I saw. And I thought that's, what real world was and growing up. So nothing really kind of jumped out at me. And then it was a conversation I had with my father and, the source of the suit and tie. And he said to me, well, if you can do anything for free for the rest of your life, don't worry about money. Don't worry about that. If it's just something that you can do for free every single day, what would it be? And I said, look, I never really grew up. I love video games. I love cartoons. I love animation. I love comic books. I'll probably want to do something like that. He was great. Do that.
Well, were you always?
No.
I know because you
never took an art class.
Because you're a pretty good artist.
Thank you.
Well, I know your work, but so throughout high school, nothing.
No, I was always too intimidated to try, and then it just took the opportunity where it's like, well, why won't you try?
And how did it happen from pre-med to?
Well, I dropped out of that. That didn't happen. And listen, there was like one biology class, and I realized I'm not pre-med, so there's not like a whole track record of that. But no, I took an art class, and I was so terrified to take that art class because it was insecurities. I was always too intimidated. There was always that one person in class that was so good at art, and there's always that one person you can point to and go, wow, they're amazing. And it's like, I can't ever be like that. And I took the art class and I told myself that I'm not even going to buy all the materials. I bought like a sheet of paper and a pencil.
Well, back then you had to actually have paper and.
Yeah. Back then it was like, old school days. So, and I said, I'm just, if my art instructor, if she gives me any feedback, any criticism, I'm making a scene and I'm walking out. Like I was dead set on like, wow. just pushing back on this. And it was the second day. The first day was go off and get your materials. Second day I came back. They set up a still life. I'm drawing and I see her going to each student, giving them feedback. And I'm like, here it comes. Here it comes. I'm going to flip the table. I'm getting out of here. And she came up and she was over my shoulder and she was quiet for a moment. And I'm ready to do it. And she goes, you ever taken an art class before? And I was not expecting that. No, never took an art class. She goes, oh, you're pretty good. And she walked away and there was a little that happened there. Like, I'm pretty good. And like, I think I dropped my pencil. And right there at break time, I went to the supply store, and I got all the rest of the materials, and that was it. I decided,
Wow.
this is what I'm doing. And I had teachers, I had advisors say to me, listen, you're coming in a little late. You're in college and you're taking your first art class. You should have a backup plan. And I said, nah. This is what I'm going to do. Burn the ships. This is what I'm doing. And I just, kind of became enamored. I just, nonstop. I was living at the school just all night long, just doing art, just figuring out how to animate. And then I got to animation, and it's like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And I just, stuck with it. And I'm very bullheaded.
And you took the route of animation for gaming. How did
At the
that-
time, it was just animation.
Oh, okay.
At the time, it was just straight animation. I think that there really wasn't kind of at least in the school where I was going, there was no track for animation for gaming, animation for itself. It was just, everybody that came out of there was doing animation tests. And along the way, cinematics for games really started to shine. And I wanted to get into cinematics. I thought that was awesome. So my first job was after I graduated. It took about 9 months.
How did you get it?
How did I get the job?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I found the studio. They were looking for an animator. I would call. I don't even know if you can do this anymore, but I would call and say, hey, I would like, my name's Bill Buckley. I'm an animator. I'd like to drop off my demo reel. What time is good tomorrow? And I would show up, and a lot of times it was just like, oh yeah, thanks, and they just throw it to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But I would call and I would say, oh, and I'm sorry, what was your name? Oh, thank you. And then I had a connection. With doing that. So I would do that, and then I would, send an email back. By the way, and it was always like info at or whatever, and I would say, I spoke with this person, and I just want to make sure you got it. Oh yes, they said thank you, blah blah blah. Great, now I have a contact with that. And I would do this with all the places that I would apply to, and I just had a spreadsheet, and I would just consistently just check up with them. How did the demo reel work? And some of them were replied, a lot of them didn't. And what can I do better? What's something that you would see? And one of them, I kind of got a bite. Because they were looking for a junior animator, and I sent my reel in, and I checked back in, and they said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, we remember you. It was pretty good. And, well, to be honest with you, it's between you and one other animator. Oh my gosh, I got a bite. So I responded, great. What was it? What can improve my chances of being your selection for the animator? Oh, well, you know what? Great question. I think maybe some camera work. Do you have it? Camera work? Can you show some? And then I think I worked all weekend on just some shots where it's just more cinematic camera work and staging and composition and stuff. And I would just send it to them. Hey, what about this? How about that? Oh yeah, that helps. And blah, blah, blah. And that got me an interview. And, so I had a follow-up interview, and I was, completely nervous. And I made a mistake in that entire process. Is I didn't do enough research, but I didn't really know at the time. So they brought me in, they showed me what they're working on. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're showing me stuff? This has to be a good sign. And at the end, almost as an afterthought, they said, oh, by the way, do you know 3ds Max? And for those that don't know, 3ds Max is an animation software program, just like Maya. And at the time, 3ds Max was not owned by Autodesk. It was completely separate. Now, I learned on Maya. So, what did I do? I lied. I was like, yes, of course I know 3ds Max.
Of course.
Couldn't even spell 3ds Max. I didn't know it at all. I never even opened the product. So, they're like, great, that sounds awesome. And on the way home, I bought a book, essentially 3ds Max for Dummies. It was one of those kind of things, intro book. And I did that because this was even before YouTube. Now you can just go on YouTube. Yep. And honestly, looking at the book, I think it was published like in 2004, said March 2004. YouTube kicked off like a month later in the same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny that happened. But that came out, and then I got the call the next day. They're like, yeah, can you start Monday? And I was elated, and then just seconds later, all of a sudden I got really, really scared because I don't know 3ds Max. So I spent all weekend studying the book, doing the tutorials. They had a disc at the time, and I did all the tutorials through the disc. And I showed up, and it turned out that the other animators didn't know it either when they started, so it was fine.
I used to go to the library on Friday,
Yeah.
get the VHS with tutorials,
Uh-huh.
go home, copy them,
Yeah.
and then return it on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're on the other side of the
Yeah.
coin, right?
Yeah.
So when you're reviewing student work, if you want to hire someone,
Mm-hmm.
what do you look for first? Like what catches your eye? Is it the clarity or the timing of the animation,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's the style of a character?
Mm-hmm.
What do you look for? And I know you do like to review portfolio review.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it kind of depends on the position, but I think that there's a common thread throughout all of that, and that is I don't want to see work that I look at and go, that was a tutorial. I don't want to see that. I want to see something that has their own voice in that. Show me who you are as an artist. When you see animation tests, and you need to do animation tests, bouncing balls, walks, things like that. Sure, I want to, I think you should study that, but that's not what's going to get you a job. What's going to get you a job is taking those lessons that you got from that and be able to say something that's your own voice. I want to see what you have to say. Show me something that's unique to you. And of course, I want to make sure that it's solid work, solid principles. You have to have the principles of animation in there. There has to be clarity. There has to be, I have to look at that, and if I get confused and go, whoa, wait a minute, what just happened there? I'm going to remember that one mistake versus the rest of it that could be fantastic.
is it better to show like a short movie that they
Absolutely
participated on, or bits and pieces of works they've done throughout their college years?
That's a great question. So if you do work that's in a group project and such, I would want to know what you did. You don't want to do the cardinal sin of taking credit for work inadvertently. So if you were to show me an entire short and it's like, oh, I must have done everything. Oh, no, I just did this. Definitely let me know. What did you do in this? Some people would actually, gray out the sections that they didn't work on, but they might need it for, some sort of, well, I have to see, why is this character doing this? It doesn't make sense unless I see it. So that's totally fine. But just be clear. Just be clear of what you've done. I've done this. I didn't do this. You don't even have to, say like, I didn't do this, just, responsible for this portion of it.
What's the most common mistake students make in general when presenting a portfolio for animation?
It's more than just for animation. I think for any type of portfolio that I see, whether it's for animation, character design, graphic design, illustration, it comes down to readability. I want to see something clear. I like to liken portfolios to like catalogs. Like when we were kids, we would get catalogs, like toy catalog. When you look through the catalogs, there's a design layout in which you're like, oh, I get it. I'm now looking at the car section. I'm now looking at the G.I. Joe section. It instantly reads. And when someone picks up the portfolio, they should, be able to thumb through it, and it should be instant read. Like, oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. Unfortunately, people, when they review portfolios, it's that fast. Great. Okay, move on. When I look at reels, sometimes I'm looking at a lot of reels throughout the day. So sometimes I click through. And if it's good, then I go back to the beginning and then I watch it through. But it needs to be just in that instant read, and every single, you don't want to add anything to the portfolio or your reel in which you're lukewarm happy about. It should be only the things that you're absolutely like, I'm proud of that. That worked extremely well. That can stand on its own, and I have absolutely no problems with people critiquing that on its own. And if that means that your reel is 30 seconds, then your reel is 30 seconds. Just make sure it's your absolute best work.
All right. Many of our students, and Magic was starting more and more to incorporate Unreal into our classes. We just purchased a virtual production studio, which is totally run on Unreal. What's the difference? Maya versus Unreal.
I can tell you, I am a wholehearted adopter of Unreal. I've always been a champion of new technology where I see that it makes a big impact in production.
So I see a shift, not a shift. It's slowly moving towards Unreal
Yeah.
in the animation. For those of you who don't know, Unreal is a game engine similar to Unity, but now the animation industry seems, I know a couple of studios that are adopting it.
Yep.
Why?
Well, gone are the days in which it's like, well, I have to render this. It's going to take me 4 weeks to render this. That's gone. That's not a thing anymore. Real-time lighting is incredibly fast. And also, you get to final picture very, very fast. So when I'm working with the Unreal Engine, previously when I would work in Maya, all animators remember working with the grayed out characters, and I don't see detail because I'm not able to render that fast. Or if I do have textures, they're very they're the low quality. There's no lighting. I'm actually able to now animate with final lighting and how it's going to interact with the lighting. And what that does is that cuts down on your iteration time. Because before you would create in Maya, you would put into Unreal, you get the lights in and go, oh, you know what, I really want to punch up this area because the lighting's going to have this kind of effect, or, maybe this doesn't work as well. Let me kind of go back. And then you're doing the back and forth game, going back to Maya, exporting, bring it back to Unreal. If you animate in Unreal, it's all right there. It's all final picture right there in front of you. So, I can move the light, I can move this. And now you're not so much of just an animator on the character, you're now kind of animating the entire world. You're the puppet master.
Explain the real ramifications of, okay, I'm creating everything in Maya, and I'm going to export it to Unreal versus creating everything in Unreal.
Yeah, so it comes down to iteration. If Unreal is going to be your final, end product of where it's going to be rendered out, you don't have multiple packages where you're doing back and forth iteration time.
You've been in the gaming industry, for some time now.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mood in the industry right now? How would you describe what's going on? I know 2 or 3 years ago there were a lot of layoffs.
Yeah.
And that now kind of settling, but what are your feelings towards the industry right now?
There's ups and downs. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's not up. It's not up. I mean, but everything is cyclical. I mean, I've lived through very tough times in the industry. I've seen very tough times. I've seen very good times in the industry. I think what is most important when I give, the credit, the advice that I give young artists and just artists in general, even veterans, is that find ways to adapt, find ways to grow. Where is the technology going? Much like with Unreal. Unreal is becoming more of a staple when it comes to animation production. Embrace it. Embrace it. If that's, if studios are starting to go that direction, try to be the first to jump on that train. Because eventually, they're going to look to people like that adopted it as early as possible to the ones leading the charge.
And AI?
Yeah. AI is a thing.
Tell me.
AI is a thing. Apparently, that's a thing.
Are you adopting it? Are you using it? Is it beneficial?
Yeah, I'm going to say AI is beneficial. And I know that is a very polarizing thing to say.
I don't know why.
Well, I think because the connotation that comes with that is that it means that is removing jobs that are currently there and taking jobs away.
I never saw it like that from the beginning.
I have not either. I have always felt that AI should empower the artist and the creator, not replace a creator. I think that if you approach it as a tool, it will benefit you, but not allow it to replace you. And I know that's a difficult thing to say. I do feel as if that's the way technology is moving. I do feel that you still need a human element to be a creator. Art cannot be made by machines alone. It has to have a person that's able to make those decisions with it. I saw a lot of similarities when I was in college. And the program that I was going to was a 2D animation program that was slowly adopting 3D.
And 3D came in.
And then 3D came in.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of feelings that the animation industry was dead.
I remember it was a crisis.
It was a crisis. Yeah. It was a crisis. And there was a lot of stories that I would read where animators that have 30 years experience, 40 years experience were not adopting 3D and they felt like they were out of a job. And I think the ones that really just succeeded were the ones that said, no, I'm going to take those decades of experience and bring it into this. And how can I use it to benefit me? And, at the time, we didn't realize that the jobs that 3D animation created, we didn't know that. We didn't know what a lighter was.
Yeah.
We didn't know what, a rigger was. We didn't know what that was. I am optimistic. Some might say that I'm a little, blindly optimistic, but I like to be optimistic that it's going to create jobs.
But you're right. I mean, I feel that people just don't know. And
it's a fear of change,
but
and I totally understand it.
But they're not exploring either. Like I am.
Yeah.
Every weekend, I just explore tools, what's
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And once you realize what's out there, the threat goes away because
I think so. I think it's very. I understand it. There's a fear of change, and I totally understand it. And I think that there's an empowerment of adopting early and then educating yourself.
Yes.
Well, what does it do for me? How does this benefit me? And then if you can use that tool to benefit yourself, then you're just gonna make yourself a stronger developer.
So Chile, would you hire someone who did not have any understanding of AI?
Sure. I think that I don't think that you have to know AI in order to get a job out there. I would say the more that you are educated on the tools out there, the greater chance that you would have of getting a job.
Okay. All right. Okay. So 5 real quick questions.
Let's do it. Rapid fire.
One production habit every animator should develop.
Naming conventions. This is boring. I know this is boring. People are going to say, I don't want to talk about naming conventions. This guy's supposed to be cool. Learn them. Just adopt it. Just learn it. Folder structures, naming conventions. It's going to save you a lot of headache. Just learn it.
One technical skill students must understand today.
Can I say it again? Naming conventions. Technical skill. You know what? I think that it will absolutely behoove you to understand what happens with your art after you're done with it. Meaning, if I create animation, well, then now what? Where does it go? How does it get used? If I'm working with Unreal, after I create the animation, it goes into a sequencer file. What's a sequencer file? Well, it collects animation, also collects all the data that's within the scene. Learn about that. Once you're done, you shouldn't know, like, okay, I do this and then I pass it off and it goes somewhere and I don't know where it goes. Whatever you work on, learn where it was before, learn where it goes afterwards.
A mistake you see and you have seen early career animators repeat over and over and over.
I think that so this one I want a little bit of clarity with, if you don't mind. I know we're doing rapid fire, but I just want clarity. Is this those that are in the industry or those that are
in the
still in school?
industry?
In the industry.
Yeah. You're in a studio, you have a new off of college. One mistake they usually do over and over and over.
Not asking questions early. Get clarity. Before you dive into something, get clarity. It's A-okay to say, I'm sorry, I'm not clear about this note. Can we just talk about that? Because I think that there is a tendency for young developers to say, I got it, and try to be a superstar. It's A-okay to say, I didn't understand that. Can we get a little bit more clarity on that? It's completely fine. In fact, I want them to do that as opposed to go off 3 days later. They come back, I'm like, what am I looking at? This is nothing what I wanted. Now we burnt 3 days. Whereas if you just would have asked me and we spent 10, 15 minutes, we could have figured it out and now you're good to go.
So remember how you got your first job?
Yes.
Calling.
Yes.
So what's that today?
LinkedIn.
What?
LinkedIn. Get out there. Introduce yourself. Event meetups and such are great, but honestly, I always say that I'm surprised whenever I do speaking engagements, wherever I have the opportunity to come here. I always tell students, connect with me on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I don't see too many people connected. And it's like, no, that's what it's there for. Connect. You'll be surprised how many don't do that. And then on top of that, you'll be surprised how many just, do the connection and that's it. Never hear from them ever again. Connect with them. Check in with them to say, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, I did this. I just finished this class. I created this project, this short film. Check it out. You can see it right here. No rush. Take your time. Thank you. So just being able to just kind of reconnect with people. Post on LinkedIn. Hey, this is my new, I just did this. I got this over here. This was shown over here at Magic's Film Festival. Show it. Show that stuff. And I think that, having that repetition, just someone that's always there, kind of, making those postings is definitely going to be just like top of mind. It's like, oh yeah, that individual. Check in with them, see what they're doing.
Bill, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. It's great.
You've been a friend and a friend of the program for so
Yes.
many years. So thanks a lot.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun to be here, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Hey!
Then, Johnny, one more, Johnny. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, that was good.